Slope and rate of change are essentially the same thing. And what they do is they show a relationship between two changing quantities. When one quantity depends on the other, then rate of change is equal to the change in the dependent value divided by the change in the independent value. Another way we could write that, and the way we've talked about it thus far, is change in y divided by change in x, recognizing that y is our dependent value and x is our independent value. In this case, remember that this triangle here is delta, and it refers to change. Okay. So delta y over delta x, or change in y over change in x, is slope, and you can also refer to it as rate of change. Slope most correctly refers to the angle a line it looks on a graph. So here we have a graph. And we're going to go ahead and put a line on this graph. And I'm going to sketch in some points. Actually, let me fix that. Let me make that a little straighter. There's a point, there's a point, there's a point, 0, 0 is a point. So when we're talking about slope, we're talking about the angle of this line. How much is this line sloped? If you think about a hill, you talk about the slope of a hill or the slope of a roof. You're talking about how steep is that line. And when we're talking about slope, we're talking about the change, the vertical change over the horizontal change, which relates back to change in y over change in x, because remember, the vertical is our y-axis, the horizontal is our x-axis. We could also, and the most common way of referring to this is rise, how much does it go up, over run, how much does it go left to right. So in this case, if you go from this point 0, 0 to this point 1, 2, it goes up 2 spaces. So its rise would be 2. It goes over 1 space. It goes from 0, 0 over to 1, 0 before it goes up 2, right? It goes from 0 to 1. So the run, or the horizontal change, would be 1. So the slope of this line would be represented as 2 over 1, or we could simplify that just to be 2. So the slope of this line is 2. Here we have 2 points. And remember, 2 points make a line. Any 2 points create a line. And we're interested in what the slope of this line is. So the first thing we need to do is we need to remember that slope is going to be found by change in y over change in x. So we have to figure out how much is y changing and how much is x changing. And we can do that this way. First, let's start with y. The y values here are 0 and -2. And we're asking ourselves, what's the difference? How much are these changing? So we want to do subtraction. 0 minus -2. We want to do the same thing for the x values. First x value is -1. Second x value is 3. So -1 minus 3. I want you to pay attention. I'm putting this point first and this point second. So this first point is right here, and this second point is right here. I could have switched that. I could have put this point first and this point second. It doesn't matter as long as I'm consistent that one point is in the front and one point is in the back. If I were to switch the order so that half the point was here and the other half was here, I would get the wrong sign on my slope. So you have to make sure that you have this whole point up front and this whole point back here, or vice versa. Those are your only options. So then we simplify and solve this. 0 minus -3 is actually positive 2, which makes sense if you think about it. The difference between 0 and -2 is 2. And then -1 minus 3 is -4. Okay. So you have positive 2 over -4. When you do that simplification, you end up with -1/2. So the slope for this line would be negative 1/2 going through these 2 points. So you don't always need the graph to do this. You can do it just with 2 points using this very simple math. The formula for this, by the way, looks like this. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the 2 and the 1 refer to which point. So in this case, this is our second point. So this is y2 right here, and this is x2, and this is y1, and this is x1. And we just take those numbers and we plug them into those positions, and then we solve, and we get negative 1/2. Here we have two other lines, a perfectly vertical line and a perfectly horizontal line. The equation for the horizontal line is y equals 3. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Okay, the slope of the horizontal line is 0. However, the vertical line's equation would be x equals 2. And vertical lines have what we call an undefined slope. Okay, so horizontal lines always have a slope of 0, but vertical lines always have an undefined slope. An easy way to remember that is this picture here helps me. That's what a positive slope looks like. That's what a negative slope looks like. An undefined slope looks like that, and a 0 slope looks like that. And you get a little face. Positive, negative, positive slope, negative slope, undefined slope, that's what this U at the bottom means, undefined slope, and 0 slope. That's why you have the zeros on the two ends.